Hey everybody, this is Petey from Spin Rack, and today, well, hopefully it'll be a short one. Today I wanted to talk about the Watchmen. Right now, we have plenty of videos on the Watchmen. We talked about the TV show. We loosely talked about the movie. We talked about the comic book, and when I first read it, my initial reaction was. I read it in the 90s. I had issue 1, but as a kid, I was kind of like, oh, this has some stuff in the back that I'm going to have to read. And I kind of decided that I wasn't going to go for it. And then it became this big thing that had all these fans. And I was like, maybe I don't need to read this. And then I read it and I was like, this is really amazing. This is a great story, basically rounding the comedian's character out. Like, the comedian is not really a great character, and he doesn't really work in the framework of a character that would care that the ultimate villain of the series is trying to do something to change the world. But they basically rounded this character out, that this character was the most interesting character in the book, and we get most of his personality in this series. So I kind of looked at it like that. And in looking at it like that, I got to the end with the space alien conspiracy, and I was like, kind of cold bullshit on it, right? So since I called bullshit on it, I would say that, and I think other people have said it too, that Zack Snyder's ending, having Dr. Manhattan become this thing that caused the nuclear destruction, was more in tune with the plot he was doing.
Henry! Why the hell didn't we get a launch detection?
It's not the Soviets, sir. Intel indicates the energy signature was generated by Dr. Manhattan.
So I was kind of like, yeah, maybe he should have done that. Maybe should have had, that would kind of be a callback to the fact that Dr. Manhattan's having these issues, right? So kind of working in tune with that. So I was like saying, maybe the film is better. And then I think also found out that Lean Wen didn't like the ending because he felt the ending was plagiarizing The Outer Limits.
Or is this the day?
Gentlemen, now I don't care what reading of history you take, the pattern is always the same. Whenever a bacteria invasion strikes, or a fire rages, or a wild beast roams the streets, then and only then do men stop fighting each other and work together to save themselves. A common enemy, a common fear, that is the only answer. If all the men of the earth are threatened by an enemy from a hostile planet, well, gentlemen, we are going to create that enemy.
And once he was off of it, Alan Moore put it back in.
Here, in 85, the end is nigh. Nuclear holocaust between the United States and Russia is imminent. Fortunately, I planned for this too. And the only way to stave off mankind's extinction is with a weapon more powerful than any atomic device. That weapon is fear. And I, Mr. President, am its architect.
Soon after the Watchmen comic book came out and it got all these accolades, It was optioned for a movie. Terry Gilliam was announced to direct, and he wanted to do a TV series. And then many years later, when we had comic book movies coming out and they were successful, we got Zack Snyder to do a movie. We had before Watchmen, where the comic book creators kind of did the 80s approach to the Watchmen, kind of staying in place, not violating anything that happened. And then we had the Watchmen TV series. And the Watchmen TV series went back to the original source material, same as the comic book, but the movie's the only one that went different. But the Watchmen TV show was very prophetic. It had cops with face masks, and those face guards would kind of be like the masks we wore during the pandemic. There was a lot of civil unrest, a lot of fighting with police and stuff like that. But they also had historical cases of racial injustice, right? All connected, which I've talked about under Hooded Justice. But they're all under this umbrella, the secret organization called the Cyclops. Now, when we think of the Cyclops,
beware the Cyclops.
one of the things that kind of ties in that they didn't want to say is the Cyclops is a major person in Ku Klux Klan. So we have Klan-like action in the first episode of the Watchmen series. We have a person with a Klan robe of his parents that he says this is his heritage. And at the same time, calling the Cyclops is leading you to the monster. Now, this sort of tie-in from the Cyclops organization of the Klan, and then we have the Octopus, and it even connects to Ozymandias, which I'm not gonna deal with yet. But the Octopus and what we've been calling the giant squid, I kind of call it an octopus. Let's say it's a squid. I think it's episode 4 when they show you what happens with the giant squid. I started looking at something else on Netflix, which is the Octopus Murders. And I saw that. I was just like, wait a second. Now, I don't think Alan Moore had a idea of connecting this to this thing that dates back before Reagan. That kind of, they say these people kind of helped Reagan get into office, and they all these terrible murders and crimes and stuff that going on within the government.
I believe there is a vast and insidious conspiracy at play in the city.
And realizes there's something much bigger going on.
These 8 men, they're no longer government officials, but their tentacles can reach into any part of government in almost any country. I've come to call this group the Octopus.
But if he did, Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons need whatever they were getting, they need more for it. And seeing that and seeing kind of the storytelling elements that they did, I'm kind of glad that they kept the octopus or the squid in the giant squid, because it kind of just makes it more 80s. This in the Octopus Murders, they kind of have this thing that the person who passed, the reporter, had described that this octopus that had many arms that was kind of tying into everything. And so that kind of made me think, when I saw it on TV, I was like, you know what? Not to say it was terribly 80s, but it did feel like that's what the Watchmen was going for. So it had element of conspiracy, it had this thing, and then now it's tying into, like, you having Nixon in there. They had hint that the comedian killed Kennedy or tried to kill Castro and stuff like that. So it's like there's these bits that they have throughout history. So it's kind of, if you have it connected to the Octopus Murders, that even makes it a little better. So I was just like, it's kind of cool having the octopus in there, even if it's plagiarized from the Architects of Fear, and you can't escape that portion of it. As a whole, keeping the comic book as it is, maybe they should have done that. But that's what the kind of TV show kind of said to me. But then going back to the Cyclops, it goes to a point that I didn't kind of connect, because the Watchmen movie, they changed Adrian Veidt's outfit. Now, Adrian Veidt, the name really feels German, and in looking in the history, it says he's a German American. So he had, and then of course his original outfit has an eye on it. It has, which would be like the Cyclops that they're talking about, which would be the thing that's connected that could possibly. Now the TV show didn't connect the Cyclops to Ozymandias, but Ozymandias is also this Aryan German American. There was many Americans here, the famous Americans. Was it Prescott Bush and Henry Ford that were with the with the Nazis? So you had this Veidt character who's a successful person. Was David Lindelof trying to say that Veidt was kind of broke off from this Cyclops organization? It's an interesting thread which I hadn't contemplated, because it has the Tulsa riot. The Cyclops part could possibly just be to connect, giving Hooded Justice this ability to use, to brutalize people even in his old age. And this is why the Watchmen will always be interesting, because there's always threads you can look at. And this is why I said, I think the ads were "Nothing ever ends," and that's one of the lines from The Watchmen. So I think he was trying to be witty. Even though people wanted Watchmen to be finished, he did say "Nothing ever ends," and they kind of played to that. Putting back all the original stuff back into it made sense, whereas Zack Snyder did a outstanding job condensing it for a 2.5 hour movie. Maybe he should have just went with the Octopus. Maybe, no, they did an explosion of the city, so they could have done it. So I guess that's where I'm going to end this, because I think that would cover it. But I had to change my assessment, and Watchmen will be something that, will be thoroughly poured over. So, Spin Rack out.